Good evening, everyone. Thank you all so much for being here. We've already got several people in chat, and I see you all. I am joined by my lovely co-host, Lady Gravemaster and Radi tonight. I decided to be off camera tonight. It's just kind of been one of those days. It is definitely a Monday, but we are here. We're going to talk about all the girly things, and I'm very excited. So welcome, ladies. How are you this evening?
Thank you. I'm doing all right. Was battling a headache earlier today. Thankfully, that's all gone. So I'm ready to roll.
That's awesome, lady. And how are you, Lady Gravemaster?
It's been an interesting day for me as well. Definitely a Monday, but it's been mostly good. Lots of change in the winds is coming up, but it should be for the better. So I'm excited, and I am super pumped to be here because I'm actually working on a couple of videos that, like, because I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna wait and I'm not gonna put any, because like I sat here and I was like, you know, Gary and Disbrew and all these guys are like really kind of nailing similar stuff, but something that they aren't doing, and it is, they're not comparing, like, and when I say comparing, I mean from, shall we use their language, from the women's lens,
Mm-hmm.
Because when I look at Galadriel, as they call her in this, like, why do they say her name so weird, by the way? Do you think that's the 10% different thing so that they don't get nailed for copyright? Because that's my current working theory.
Maybe.
Perhaps.
but like, the thing is, when you look at who they've cast as what is supposed to be young Galadriel, even though the time frame that they're working in, she would be Cate Blanchett. Like, she would be full power, like, she would be full Galadriel at that point. Is, like, do you genuinely believe this is someone who could evolve into the Galadriel that we know from the books, from the Lord of the Rings trilogy, and as well as the Jackson movie trilogy? And the answer is no.
Yep.
For two very simple reasons. One, she does not carry herself. Like, of all of the characters, Galadriel is very well described. Right? She, like, we know her rather intimately. What she looks like, how she carries herself, what to expect from her, the depths of her power, why she has come to this land, and what it's going to take for her to feel she deserves to go home, essentially, and stuff like that, right?
Yep.
So we know all of these things about her. And the actress, from everything that we've seen, from the stills to the clips to the GIFs to the memes, sometimes I think the memes actually may have nailed Galadriel better than Amazon, but she at no point encompasses that otherworldliness that Galadriel has been famous for since the beginning.
Yeah, for sure. No, absolutely, lady. So yeah, hopefully
I've been told that she was in other things. Oh, go ahead.
Oh yeah, no, I definitely, like, hopefully we will get to some of that, just talking about just like female in media today, because you know, as the title says, we're going to go over Yaira. Oh, I said it right. I'm proud of myself.
Yeah.
I kept saying like Yaira or something. Like, I kept like really trying to put a weird spin on it. So I'm proud of myself for that. But yeah, absolutely. Real quickly, because I'm terrible about forgetting, I have a $10 donation from Cajun Corey. Thank you so much. Just says Pisha. Thank you, Corey. And for you, sir, I will give you this.
Now is the hour. Riders of Rohan, oaths you have taken. Now fulfill them all to Lord and land.
Oh, that's awesome.
Right? Yeah. And I know Cajun, I think he's seen the extended cuts, or at least just the movies themselves, and I don't know if he loves them, but that's a favorite of mine. So there you go, Corey. Thank you so much for the $10. I deeply appreciate you, sir. And I just want to say a quick hello to the chat. Thank you so much for everyone for being here tonight. Powerpuff Girls, something in between. So thank you all, chat, for being here. I deeply appreciate all of your support as always. So yeah, let's go ahead and dive in. So one thing that I really wanted to start with tonight, something that I have been deeply fascinated about, because again, I'm not I can't even call myself a normie when it comes to comic books. I'm just I'm ignorant of all the things. Is since Rippa has released the RippaVerse and we have seen ISOM number 1 come out, we all know that there were 3 different comics, or comic covers, and the B cover actually featured Yaira. And from the moment I saw her, I was like, she's cool. I know nothing about her, but she's cool. I want to know her story. So I ended up getting her cover and her poster. And at one point, if they're still available, I'd like to get her t-shirt, because I was just like, I don't know anything about this girl, but I think she's cool. And since then, and I don't know if like it's my feed, I don't know about you guys. I'll let you say, but like my feed has been full of Yaira. Like, okay, so we have 2 cosplayers, right? We got Sweet Krista there. There's Radi, obviously. So full of like Yaira fan art, and I've just been like fascinated by this. I'm like, what is driving this? Like, someone even made some animation of her. I have not seen as much love for ISOM. Now, again, that could be the issue with my timeline. Maybe it's just like the algorithm of what I'm interacting with. I mean, there's one, but I just haven't seen quite the same level of interest in ISOM as I have Yaira. And I'm just like, I'm kind of curious, and I want to know what chat thinks about this too, is like why this is. Why does it seem like people have latched on to this really beautiful woman we know nothing about her other than her and ISOM have a beef with each other. And I'm like, is she a bad guy, or is it just they've got a beef with each other? You know what I mean? So I don't know, ladies, what, let's open it up. What do you think what the phenomenon behind this is? Or do you think there is one and I'm just overreaching?
I don't think you're overreaching at all. I think, honestly, because there isn't really much that we know about her yet, aside from, the tidbits we got from the trailer and everything else, I believe there's like a mystery element right now. And the fact that she looks, what's the word? What's what I'm looking for? She looks powerful without being in your face with it. You know what I mean? And the fact that there's that, couple that with the mysterious element to it, I think it's just kind of driving people like, dude, who is this Yaira person? Who is she? I want to know more about her. And so, yeah, I mean, all the fan art I've been seeing, I will say, I will agree that I have seen a lot more Yaira fan art than I have of ISOM. Yeah, but yeah, mystery, honestly, I think that's a big driver for it. And like I said, she's there. She doesn't look crazy, and yeah, I think those are my 2 biggest things that pop out to me.
For sure. Lady Gravemaster, what's your take on this Yaira phenomenon?
So I think there's actually a little bit something, I think we can kind of actually thank ISOM as well for this, because he, like, just looking at ISOM, he is clearly, it's kind of funny. You can look at him, you can tell that he's seen some stuff.
Yep.
He's been through some stuff. He doesn't want to go through any more stuff unless he absolutely has to. And then, of course, we know from the little excerpt that the little hints that we've gotten, he gets pulled back into stuff for family, right? And I think a big part of why there's, I would almost say, a hesitation with ISOM is because with Yaira, like Radi pointed out, there's this element of mystery. We're not really sure if she's good or bad, or what her motivations are, or anything like that. But there's sort of this draw to her being somehow, like we said, involved with ISOM, with this beef. We're not sure to the extent of what it is, but I would say the hesitation with ISOM comes in. It's been a long time since we have had a male protagonist that has been properly presented, because even like current day, like modern Batman and modern Superman, for the most part, are written by self-insert sociopaths.
Yeah.
And so when it comes to ISOM, I think a lot of people have really high expectations for his overall arc and his personality and the story as a whole. And so I think the hold off with him is because I'm not saying, by the way, I'm not saying that at this point people have not done Yaira justice, because they clearly have. But because Isom is the main character, when the fan art does start to sort of unfold around him and of him, and the animation, and I have no doubt we'll see cosplayers as well, I think it's going to be because they want that context around him. Because the detractors, if you notice, the detractors, it's all, oh, he just looks like so and so with a different belt, or he's got a cross on his stomach, on the belt of his stomach. So how is that not agenda driven? And the thing is, we don't know anything about him, right? And so it's not that we can't defend it, because we all know, like, similarly how we all know Rings of Power is going to be absolute crap because of what the showrunners have said, of what Amazon has done and said. Like, we can look at the context of the situation, and we know some of these people involved are from Bad Robot. We know Bad Robot people. So, and we know what they do. Well, we also know Rippa. We know who he is. We know what he does. We know that Isom is not going to be a self-insert, but we also know that it's not going to be a pander to either side. Like, it's not like he's going to get out there and pander to, right-leaning or left-leaning. Like, this is going to be an apolitical book, which is mind-blowing to some people, because that's how entrenched they are in this stuff. And so I think the hesitation with Isom is they want to be able to have the context surrounding him so that they can be like, this is why he's different. This is why he made 3 point. When this is all said and done, when the RippaVerse first campaign is finished, or like we look back, because right now he's only like 10,000. He's just over 10,000 away from 3.4 million. He could, and they've got 45 days left, so he could easily hit 4 million for pre-orders. Like, essentially, these are pre-orders, right? So, and I think once we have that story and that context, you're going to see an explosion of Isom fan art, because now we have the context of it. Now we have, this is why he's better than Strongman or modern day Captain Fantastic, or this is how he's different, or this is how he stands out, or this is why we love him. Because whether we want to admit it or not, subconsciously, I think a lot of people don't want it to appear like they are fans of him to simply like virtue signal, essentially.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, just to support.
Yeah.
Just for the sake of supporting him. Yeah.
So, but once this comic book comes out, it's a graphic novel. Like, quite frankly, it's a graphic novel. I mean, this sucker's huge.
Yeah.
It's 96 pages, guys. Yeah. So once this comes to life, and we get that context, and we get that story, and we have these, I have no doubt people are going to be making, like, fan posters, fan art. They're going to be doing these, like, different power moves with Isom. They're going to have different quotes, like, just all of this stuff that they're going to be, capable of doing with context to essentially show that it is like, we are willing to put our money where our mouth is, and this is why we love him.
Yeah.
So that's my take on it.
Yeah. Well, and I think Kenman said something interesting, and I kind of want to bounce off this. So Yaira looks like a powerful and strong woman who didn't become that way by writers turning her into a man. She was drawn as a strong woman and unapologetically so. And I 100% agree with you, Kenman. But what I find interesting, and I might get a little bit of flack for this, but again, comic book normie, I have to say that it's, she's beautiful and she's strong, but she's in no way sexualized. I was telling Lady Gravemaster behind the scenes, if you look at some of Wonder Woman's costumes, like, good heavens above, like, are you wearing anything? You know what I mean? So it's not that, I don't like that, Supergirl or Wonder Woman or what have you, or Black Canary are not drawn in a certain way. I do think that they look beautiful and strong, but it's interesting to see that she's not like revealing everything. And to me, like that is something that matters to me. So this could just be simply an Alasia observation, but I find it interesting that like she's gorgeous, she's strong, but she's not flashing everything she's got. Do you know what I mean? Like she's got that like that I don't even know what you would call it, that like the, I don't know. It doesn't matter.
She has presence. She has presence.
She has a presence. Yeah. So I find that super interesting about her. And that people still love her even though she's not, you know, in a bikini, essentially. If that makes sense.
Yeah, that does make sense. Basically, she doesn't have to be all out there exposing everything to be relevant. Yeah,
absolutely. I think the interest in Yaira is that it's a new female character where women wrote like women nowadays. Yeah, for sure, Ark. We want to see what she is all about. I want to know more about the dudes in green jumpsuits.
Yes.
Yeah. There was some weird person who was he made some very, very weird speculations. It's like, how are you looking at all this? I was responding to him this morning on Twitter, where he's like, yeah, basically because Islam is a POC. How often do you see those in comics these days? And said something about being, since Yaira and Alpha Core are from, I guess, his old city or whatever, and how they kind of represent this like white what did they say? Let me go back to it because it was really ridiculous. And I was just like, man, what kind of lens are you viewing things
It
through?
sounds ridiculous. Like, I don't understand. I do not understand where the idea that like anybody's skin color is gonna have, unless it's like a historical biop or something like that, like, or in the case of, again, like Tolkien, like if the author has clearly written them a specific way, because, and it's likely due to geographical location or because of some other element, that the skin color or like their skin color tends to be an after effect because of the conditions they lived in rather than the forefrontal most important thing. You know what I mean? And so this idea that skin color has any weight of worth as a human is really bizarre to me.
Yeah. So I found it. So this guy says, okay, he's responding to Rippa here first.
Oh, it's a please daddy notice me. Got it.
Yeah, basically one of the crazy reply guys who like to lurk like little rats in the comment sections of these tweets. He's like, yeah, wants to write a non-woke comic book, accidentally writes a comic that's more woke than anything DC Marvel have on the market. Isam is so woke and I love it. So I asked him, I said, feel free to explain how Isam is woke. So he links me to this weirdness. He's like, let me explain based on what story has been revealed so far. We have a POC hero. How often do we get these? We'll get to explore his relationships with other POC characters. Only comic line I can think of that does this is Luke Cage. He fights the white power structures. And
what?
Yeah.
It's
oh my gosh.
The POC characters that were currently being shoveled are reimaginings of other original characters. They are not actual original characters.
They're using that phrase, how often do we see that? So often now it's like, do you even know what that means anymore?
No, it's just like everything. It's lost all meaning.
And it's always people like this, man. Yeah. I swear, it's always people like this that want it. The first thing they see, their weird lens, they see color first. They see color above everything else. And so everything else that he had to say after that, he just made his whole entire like argument crumble. Yeah.
I swear to God, there's no like, I tell you what, male feminists are kind of on par with like, just, I don't even know, like they're a different brand of psychotic.
Yeah.
And evil. Like really, like how are you not exhausted by like 10 minutes into the day?
Seriously. I saw Tugs asking why is everyone off camera. I think it's a Monday, my dear. I think it was was
That's
amazing.
just
I'm
how I
never
roll.
on. I'm
Yeah.
never on camera.
Yeah,
My ugly mug
so-
doesn't need to be on anyone's
Wow,
channel.
Yeah,
Lady
and I-
G. Wow, I heard otherwise, Lady G. I heard that you're very lovely and beautiful in
Aw.
person.
Oh,
so-
she
Well,
is.
thank you.
I'm one of the rare few who have a picture with Lady G that no one will ever see, but she is a gorgeous,
Yeah,
gorgeous
DMs are right.
individual. So.
No, my DMs are on Twitter.
So yeah, Don, they are like I'm yeah, same boat, lady, and yes they are. But yeah, no, they are a whole other breed. But yeah, like I don't know, and it's funny. It's like, is Yaira like, I don't know, the RippaVerse's version of Gina? Like it's just, I don't know. It's just it's so fascinating just to see like people latch onto her, and like even me, my gut reaction was like, she's cool. I want to know her. That's awesome. Yeah, I don't know. It's just it's really cool, and Radi, I mean, you've done 2 fan arts of her, and I love your style, and so I love that you did that of her. So it just, yeah, I just find it really, really cool that people have kind of latched onto her, and she's getting so much love and attention. Because she is so unknown. It was fascinating to me just to see how many people were churning out these
dude,
beautiful fan arts of her immediately.
Yeah, seriously. And then I work with, a couple of the concept artists, and it's really nice being able to see the stuff that they put out.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so cute. My youngest, she came in and as I was drawing the Chibi Yaira, and she's like, "Oh, look, it's Chibi Yaira." Like she knows who she is. I was like, "Oh man, it's awesome."
That's awesome. How darling. Yeah. Well, my mom actually heard about the RippaVerse. Like she knew about it because I told him, I was like, Mom, Eric July's releasing the RippaVerse and stuff. And so she'd been like, oh, well, good for him. And then she had heard about like what all the freaks that were coming after Rippa from like someone who is not part of our community at all. They're just a political pundit kind of on YouTube, have a huge following, older gentleman, and he's like, look, I don't know anything about Eric, but he made a comic book which I know nothing about, but he's getting attacked for it, so you should go buy his comic book. Like he literally, that's all he said. And my mom came in and she's like, I want to buy his comic. She's like, I know you've already gotten one, but get another one. And I had actually missed Yaira's cover because of issues with the website that morning. And so they had put it back in stock. And so I immediately bought Yaira's cover. So I was like,
That's awesome.
I need to have all of her things. But yeah, no, it's really cool. And it's no worries, dear. I appreciate the lurk. It's really cool to see people so engaged and like, usually sometimes you see fan art being turned out of like, books or comics or what have you. That's like really inappropriate and it's like questionable and it's like, what's wrong with you? But everyone has just been like celebrating this female character, which I don't know, it's really cool to see.
It is really cool to see. It really is. I can't wait to read everything. Oh my goodness. And I got the Dokuman trading cards. So there are 11 of them. I have plans. I have plans for those cards once I get them.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Johnny says, thanks for being here, babe. It is a vicious cycle. Females complain about all men sucking, but then keep dating male feminists. Can't tell you how many times I witnessed my peers doing that in Callie shaking my head. Yeah, no, for sure. And, we might go ahead and get off into the weeds here kind of by something what Lady Gravemaster brought up. And I mean, like, this can tie into what I hope, what Rippa's comic will be is this kind of reestablishment of what good masculinity looks like, which we may get into later in the stream. What was I? Oh, I lost my train of thought. Even guys at my church, like, New Mexico can be a pretty middle of the road blue state, but even guys at my church, they're literally scared to talk about masculinity. They just will not bring it up. And I know that's product of the Me Too movement, but yeah, it's sad. It
is very much. It's sad to see how many guys who normally wouldn't be that way because they are afraid of getting those harassment cases being slapped at them and stuff. So I don't blame men, like actual men, not these crazy, I guess, what they call soy boys and feminine, whatever. I mean, like actual men, they're like, you know what? I'm not even gonna deal with the headache, the potential headache, this and this and that. They don't want to interact with females like they normally do, like they used to before, because everything is either seen as an unwanted advancement or whatever the case might be. And I've talked to a few dudes about that, and like, dude, it sucks that you're put in that position. It really does.
Yeah.
You can't even be a gentleman.
Yep. Absolutely. I remember one day I was at my favorite thrift shop, and there was an older man, very sweet older man, and I was waiting in checkout, and they just changed the checkout process, and it was self-checkout, and it wasn't really clear where to stand, and so I was kind of like, oh, where do I go? And my hands were full of books, and he had like, you know, a navy hat on or something, and I usually listen to music while I'm shopping, and he came up to me and tapped my shoulder, and he said, Miss, you were technically here first. Why don't you go ahead and check out? And I was so touched by that, and I was like, oh, really? Are you sure? And like, I could tell, like, just I could literally see the relief in his eyes that I didn't like snap his head off. You know what I mean?
It's crazy how we get those reactions from things that should be normalized. So things that should be normal, like even in like customer service. Thank you for being so kind. Like, bro, I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. It's like the fact that people are so happy for normal, what should be normal. Yes. It's both endearing, but it's sad at the same time.
It is, for sure. Real quickly, I'm gonna pay this back to you. I got $20 from Johnny. He says, "Clip me, babe." All right, you can have this one.
You should have stayed dead.
Thank you. I'll put that away for future trips. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. I'm reading chat. It's not a subject that we talked amongst ourselves. You mean masculinity and like feminine issues? I'm not sure what if you can tell me, Charlie, I will definitely highlight. So yeah, no, it is. It's insane to think that like someone being like, and just like allowing people to like hold a door open for you. And you know what? It's so interesting to that when I hold a door open for someone who's older than me, because you know I live in Southwest, and so there's a lot of folks from the Navajo reservation come down to my city, and a lot of them are like, you know, in their 90s practically, and it's just there's the shock on their face when I hold the door open for them to like the dollar store. It's like, what is seriously? Have you been like snapped at that badly for someone? Just, you know, it's incredible like to see that they're so shocked by just the simplest little bit of you know,
human decency,
courtesy.
Yeah.
Yep. I made so many chicks mad because I opened the door for them in Calais. I always laughed at their annoyance. I bet you did.
And you should, Johnny, and you freaking should.
Hard.
Imagine being upset at someone opening a door for you. Like,
well,
how?
I brought this up on, I think it was Quarter Black's member stream.
Mm-hmm.
I believe feminism was started by a man.
Yes.
And convinced the woman that it was a good idea, because the whole push of feminism is don't be a stay-at-home wife and mother who takes care of the home and raises up the children with your own beliefs, because you have to answer to the husband, right? No, instead, go work for a corporation that has a board of men that you have to answer to, who pay you well below, like, I think we can all agree, especially with inflation, well below what you're worth and the effort that you put in. And then when they, you know, they're like, how can we raise morale? Or what would it be to keep you? A raise. Well, here is an email telling you good job. Like, that had to be a man's idea. And women were like, that's a brilliant idea. We'll have our own money and we'll pay our own taxes and we'll still have a kitchen and a house to clean and a yard to take care of.
Yeah. Absolutely.
That's a Minnesota thing, smile a while for me, because I'm telling you, in the Dakotas, hospitality is a thing.
Really? Well, that's interesting.
Very much so.
I want to go back. Yeah, like, you know, and so Smile a While, she and Rachel both made good points. I've made it a conscious practice to genuinely thank guys who hold doors open for me. Same here, lady. Mm-hmm. Following the Me Too movement, those small but good gestures have become less normal. Absolutely, for sure. I always smile and nod or say thanks when men do those small gestures for me. It's not toxic. It's politeness. It's literally manners. It's just manners. Like I holding the door open for my elder. That's manners. It's not toxic.
And that is a way to combat the existence of just like the toxic feminist shit. Yes. Because it's like, sorry, I shouldn't.
No, girl, swear. But you're good.
But it's like that's a good way to do it. Just embody the woman that is thankful. Embody the woman that's grateful for when men do perfectly normal things, you know, to just make life easier for us.
Here's
it's like,
and it's not even like the thing that blows my mind is we're now holding up opening doors as some like mark of like amazing going above expectation, going beyond expectation.
When it's the bare minimum.
It's literally the bare minimum. That's just depressing on its own face. I'm not saying, guys, and I'm not saying that we're not grateful for it. And if anything, this entire feminist push has shown how important, like, it truly, like, you always hear, oh, it's the little things. Literally, it is the little things holding it all together. Like, just the common everyday manners and courtesy.
Yep.
But the fact that we're heralding opening a door for women as this huge show of chivalry is like mind blowing. Because I remember a time not so long ago where I swore up and down I would never marry a man who wasn't like Brendan Fraser in The Mummy. Because he held open doors for her. He got into a gunfight for her. But at the point where he like needed to protect her, and she's very intelligent. He never called her stupid. He never pretended he was smarter than her. But when it became clear that she was the ultimate target of the mummy and she needed to be protected, and he was like, okay, this is what we're going to do. And then he got met with resistance. What did he do? He scooped her ass up, threw her down on the bed, locked her in the room, and was like, because he knew that she was going to try and argue her way out of it, or she was going to run off and do something stupid. Mm-hmm. So he just like, no, we're going to just nip that shit in the bud.
He took charge.
And then everybody fell in line after that. Like, that's literally what you need to do. But
yeah. Well, it's interesting you bring that up. This is kind of going back to something that I talked about on my Instagram, but I don't think I've talked about it here. So one night, sometimes I do this on my Instagram. I will pose a question. It's kind of like what you do, Lady Gravemaster, on your Twitter. You'll pose a question to people in the morning, and you'll either do a poll or just kind of see what falls, what comes of your question on Twitter. I do that on my Instagram sometimes, and I'll put the reply sticker in mine. And I did this one night, and I was basically, I posed this question to them, and the responses I got were fascinating. It was so interesting to see what people responded to with this. It's just literally, if a woman's walking back to her car and it's dark and the car's far and maybe you're not in the greatest part of town, the combination of all those three things can just be one of those things. Do you offer to walk her back to her car? And the reason I posed this question to my followers, is because my church in the winter, my small group meets at the church, and the church is abutting the arroyo. And the arroyo has no matter where you live, teenagers go down there and hang out. They smoke weed. They do untoward things. They, homeless people live down there. It's not the safest place in the world. And my church abuts it. And the parking lot has very poor lighting. And I said goodbye, and I was walking out to my car, and I heard that night there were these kids screaming, and it kind of freaked me out. And I was I got in my car, and I was literally all of the guys in my small group, because it's a co-ed group run by an older couple that I just adore. They're all in the military, and not one of them offered to walk me out to my door. And it was really, really, really disappointing. Mm. And so I posed this to my followers, I just would like to know, does this not something that doesn't occur to you? Has this been wiped off the planet because of the Me Too movement? Why is it? Why does this not even occur to anyone to ask this? Or do you not, because you are afraid of being Me Too'd, or being called a sexist, or all these things? What is it that keeps men from doing this? And it was interesting. A lot of women responded and said, yes, men need to be doing this, but because of the feminist movement, it has been kind of erased from men's minds, and we need to start verbally expressing that we would like this to happen in order for this to become a norm again. Do you know what I mean?
Yes,
And
it
so,
can no longer be an unspoken expectation.
Exactly. Yep.
Which is sad.
It is. So yeah, like, and some women, I can't remember who was who. Some women said, yes, my friends always offer, no, and this has never happened to me. I've been walked to my car one time in my entire life in New Mexico, which is sad. But it was really cool. But it was interesting to see, like, holding a door should be the bare minimum. But stuff like this, it's like we as women want, courtesy and chivalry to return. But it's interesting now that it's like we do need to kind of express it in order for it to become a norm again, so that it maybe hopefully one day can get back to that unspoken gesture. I mean, I don't know. What do you ladies think?
I definitely agree with that. And speaking to the idea that, it definitely shouldn't be something that's like, heralded and like, oh my gosh, you just held the door open for me. Oh my gosh, you just, walked me to my car or whatever, is because of the present lack of it. And I think a lot of it too is like, if you are a woman who does enjoy those things, you're also shunned by the feminist community. You're also shunned by them. Like, how could you want that? Why are you going backwards? Why are you living, in outdated times and this and that? That's why I mock that on my Twitter. I have my bio saying a woman who likes to be in the kitchen, because I do. I like to cook and all that stuff. And it's like, I don't get it. It's like, if you want to be that way as a woman, by all means, knock yourself out. But don't impose that on every woman out there, because some women do like the old fashioned way. Some women do like that that sort of thing. I like it. I think it's nice.
Me too. Yeah. Like, I mean, when I went to the meetup in Dallas, not to, but I went to the meetup in Dallas, and I did drive to Dallas. I drove the 10 hours, which was a huge mistake. That was really exhausting. I don't even know, like, how long was your drive, Lady G? Was it as long, or was it shorter?
6 hours.
Okay.
6-hour drive.
As Dallas traffic is just
never again.
Like, always add whatever your drive time is, always add 2 hours.
Yes, that is accurate. I can attest to this as having driven for the first time in my life in Dallas. It was awful. But I lifted to the meetup because I was like, yeah, I'm sick of being in the car. I do not want to figure out parking downtown. Like, I'm gonna lift. As we were all getting ready to leave that evening, Johnny came up to me. He's like, hey, where'd you park? And I was like, oh no, I got a lift here. He's like, okay, you don't need to be walked anywhere. And I said, no, I'm good. So, even those small gestures, I was like blown away by that. I was like, oh my gosh, someone cares. So it's, but, and obviously, everyone knows now that Johnny and I are dating, but I just like that mentality is just, it's so lost. But I think Rachel's right. When we do see it, we need to praise it and kind of make it known that, like, I appreciate that so deeply. And as a woman, your gut's going to tell you if, like, this guy's doing it for weird reasons, or he's literally just, hey, I want to make sure you get to your car. Okay. Can I just walk you to your car? Is that all right?
Yeah.
Your guts, women, God gave us natural instincts, and a woman's going to know. But we should praise that kind of, like, let me protect you, kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's absolutely. Well, something else, like, we're talking about this, most guys who are about, I'd say 24, the very end of, like, the millennial generation, kind of where this starts, but you can see it really really take root in Gen Zs. Most of those boys don't know how to tie a tie, how to tie a bow tie. And I'm not like, yeah, there's clip-ons and that's all. But the reason that was a joke in films is because men knew how to tie ties. They knew how to tie bow ties. They knew what a cummerbund was. They knew what a vest was.
Yeah.
Like, they knew these things. And that's not common knowledge anymore. And that is going to have a massive effect going forward. I think it's going to make the pendulum swing the opposite direction, actually, because they're going to be like, I never learned how to do this. And it's because I because I didn't learn how to do this because I didn't have a father figure in my life, didn't have an older brother, my mom didn't know, like whatever it is. It's something that I want to know because it's not now. I don't wear suits because they're like old or stuffy. It's because I can't. It's because I don't know how to put I don't know how to put a 3-piece suit together. I don't know how to coordinate my tie, and I don't know how to tie my tie.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what it's going to come down to. And I think it's going to be a real, like, you're already seeing it start to swing back a little bit the other way. Like but so it's still trying, like feminists especially are trying to continue to shove the pendulum further and further and further left, but they're at like max potential energy pretty much for this sucker to swing the other way with a vengeance. Because it's bad. Like, I hear so many guys talk about how they're sick of being oh, sorry, that's my bird. They're sick of being they're sick of being told what to do or what to think or what, like, whether or not they've got basically what they're worth to society. Like, I don't know. It's Jordan Peterson kind of nailed it really well on the head, but also you think about men do a majority of like hard labor jobs and high risk jobs, and they go through, like, there are men who go through hell and are suffering through jobs that they hate because it provides what their family needs, or it supports their girlfriend or their wife or their fiance's lifestyle or whatever it is. You know what I mean? Yep. They're like, I do this because it makes her happy. And it's like, cool, but if you're not getting anything back, if you're getting nothing reciprocated, then you're going to be pouring from an empty cup, and that leads to resentment and bitterness. Big time. Yes, and all of this other stuff. And so it causes all these other issues, but men put up for it for so long. And it's just tragic to witness. And I kind of just want to kick a lot of women in, like, the face. And like, can't they just all go move to an island somewhere? Like, I'll send them, I'll buy their plane tickets, right? I'll find a way, I'll crowdfund that crap. Send y'all there, y'all can go live in your debauchery and your no manners and your no boundaries and your live wild and free with no consequence. It's so funny too when they're like, live without consequence, and I'm like, so by that you mean basically every consequence in the world is going to find you.
Yeah,
basically.
Yeah. Radi, I think you were going to say something. Did you have a thought along the what we were saying?
If I did, it went away.
No worries, lady. My thoughts go off the rails all the time. Well, it's interesting. We kind of like had a mishmash of different kinds of articles for tonight, and one that I found interesting. We were going to talk about the Disney princesses, and of the 3 articles, I thought that this one was kind of an interesting one to talk about. And it kind of gets lay aside the fact it's about the Disney princesses. What it boils down to a lot of this article is that these traits of femininity that we have lost, that we have thrown by the wayside, that feminism have done their utmost to destroy. When I was reading this line, this like knocked me on my rear end, because to be honest with you, this was my has to love God, and I have to feel safe with whatever man I was going to be and wind up with, and that's ultimately what God ended up giving me. But beauty is the thing that calls others to protect it. The feminine archetype is in the receiving role, and this is passive, but does not mean but by no means inferior. Mm-hmm. It's the power and its ability to attract protectors, givers, and rescuers. And it's just like, women have been told that they shouldn't want that. And it's so sad that, like, I mean, you ladies may feel differently, but I definitely feel like that's one of the roles of the feminine, is to seek protection, to want to be protected, because the role of the masculine is to want to protect. So it's heartbreaking to see, like, what feminism has done to mentalities like this. And of course they go through all the Disney princesses, and they talk about, Ariel imbues sacrifice and trust. And it was interesting to say, like, she loved a man enough to go to a whole new country and have to learn everything over again because of she loves someone. That's a hard thing to do. Not everyone's going to do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I think if you go back to like where it said protector and giver and
rescuers,
they have correlated protector with possessor.
Yes.
So rather, like, you are something to be possessed rather than protected. That's like men look at you as something to be possessed, not protected. Men look at you as something to take what they want from you, rather than you willingly building them up and giving it to them, and men giving to you in return this sense of safety and belonging and love. And rescuers, like, I've brought this up in other streams, but there was a girl who literally tried to stage, like, she walked into a basketball pass to try and get a guy's attention. Like, she broke her nose to get a boy's attention and was like hoping he would do like this big, I guess, gesture or whatever, or it would make him realize that, oh, she really is the one for me, or something like that. And the thing is, boys, like, I'm not saying they won't rescue you if they don't care about you, but also, like, depending on your situation, who you want to be your rescuer, you don't get to pick them. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You don't get to pick who rescues you. If you set something up to be, to like get that one guy's attention, well, it got his attention, but he didn't come like rushing over. It was mostly other girls, and it was like 2 other guys who were head over heels for her. But because they weren't the guys she wanted, she rejected their
help.
Their help, their presence. And I was like, that's like, why? Like, why would you, like, clearly, if anything, this has proven that he is not the one for you, or he's not who you thought he was. These 2 guys, however, are obviously willing to do whatever it is that you are hoping for in a guy. I don't know. I just thought it was weird. But yeah, it's the guy who you may want to be a rescuer is not necessarily the one who's going to be rescuing you. And I think feminists have done a very good job of sort of embittering the damsel and like, they make damsel in distress sound like she's stupid and clumsy and incapable, and that's not what that means, because damsel in distress often means that it is a woman who is either in a position of power, or she holds some innate power, or she has certain connections that are powerful, and so she gets trapped in a tower by a dragon, and now old boy has to go slay a dragon. Just saying.
Yeah. Oh, Dawn made a good point. She said, your protector doesn't even have to be romantic. Mine is in the chat right now, says
Yeah,
Dawn.
for sure.
Yeah.
Hey, okay, let me say real quick, Canman, don't worry about it. I think something's wrong with my StreamYards on my end. I literally have not seen a single link being dropped. A Smile for Me a while said that they have seen the links. So no worries. I don't know. That's a really weird glitch. So no, you go deal with Jeremy. Like I modded you only because like I was getting so many bots that night, and I know that people needed help. So no, if you need to go help Jeremy, please do. Thank you so much for the lurk or whatever. But I think that I'm having an issue with StreamYards because I have literally not seen a single link come through. But apparently you guys can see them in the chat, so we're all good. Everything's good. And Canman is the goat. I very much agree with that. So sorry, I did not mean to derail you ladies. I just wanted to
you're good.
verify that for my mods. No, absolutely. And that's the thing. It's like, going back to the car issue for me, it's not, having a guy ask you, hey, do you need to be walked to your car? For me, it was never about a romantic thing. It wasn't like, oh, it's going to be an opportunity for us to be alone. It's like, no, literally, I don't want to be by myself. Like, I don't care who you are. Can you just make sure I get to my car okay? that's literally, you know, how I see it. And, you know, I always thought, you know, if I were with someone and they made sure that someone else got back to their car okay, and they had no romantic interest and they had no like real, for lack of a better term, investment in that person, but they still offered to get that woman to their car safely, it's like, okay, what would he be willing to do for me as his partner? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, there it is. That's so weird. Okay, sorry.
No, you're fine. I think too, a big thing. So for some reason, mama's boys get a really bad rap. And like, so mama's boys are apparently these grown men who can't cook for themselves, can't clean, you know, like basically they treat their mom kind of like a maid, you know what I mean? And get pampered. And then you have daddy's girls who are, they're materialistic, daddy pays for everything, they get whatever they want, they're never in trouble. You know, these are sort of the stereotypes surrounding those two entity, like those two archetypes, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I've noticed that more often than not, mama's boys are aggressively defensive of people they care about. And they're more than capable in a lot of areas. Yeah, they might have expectations of a girl that they go out with because it's like, hey, this is what I do. Like, I'm sorry, but I knew a chick. She's like, oh, I want to date as a fireman. I just want to date a fireman. They're so hot. They're so sexy. They're so this. They're so that. Right. And it's like, okay, well, you know, you should like generally if a guy is a firefighter, he has significant concern for others' well-being. He's very safety oriented. He's very capable. He's relatively fearless because he has to run into fires, right? So those are just because of that type of job and the requirements needed to perform that job well, certain people do that job, right? And she started dating him. She started dating one, and they lasted about 3 weeks because she was like, he's always on shift and he'll text me, but he won't call. And you know, it's really sporadic when he texts me. And I know he's just hanging out at the firehouse with his buddies and they're not doing anything. And I'm like, you can't know that unless you're spying on him, which I doubt. But she was like, and he always expects me to cook for him and to do his laundry. Like he'll handle certain care for his equipment. He doesn't want me to touch that, but he expects me to do his laundry and the dishes. And she's like, we've only been dating for 3 weeks. Like, why would you expect this of me? And I was like, probably because that's what he's looking for in a partner. And it's a good thing you guys broke up, because if you're not willing to give that, it's best he not waste his time.
Yep.
Because can you imagine going on shift for 5 days, not being home, and coming home and being exhausted because God knows what you may have had to like deal with or go through, because they don't just get called out for fires. And the person, like your partner, is just like, I'm not doing your laundry, I'm not doing the dishes. Like, why would I? Like, you're a grown man, do it yourself. I don't care how tired you are. I don't care that a beam fell on you or that you inhaled smoke or that you had to climb 6 stories on a ladder. Like, that's your job. Get over it. It's like, what? And she and I are not really friends anymore. She only texts me. She only texts me when she wants something.
Oh,
and I'm like,
types.
yeah. And I'm like, oh, I haven't heard from you in a while. And she's like, well, I thought I'd say hi. What are you up to? And I'm
So
like,
what do you want?
Yeah, I'm like, oh, you know, the usual. What do you want? Literally, what do you want? And she's like, well, I was just wondering, like, if you wanted to. I can tell she's running out of single friends. Because she's calling the married ones to like go out to the bar with her or go do stuff with her, and now it's gone from how fun of a person. See, this is also interesting, chat, because her conversation, Radi, Lej, I'm sure you girls have had this type with you as well. It went from how fun she is, how fun-loving she is, and how adventurous she is, and how any guy would be lucky to have her because she's not dull and boring, to so that used to be the conversation, and it has switched to how there's nobody to go out with anymore. It's everybody else's fault that she has to fly solo for a lot of these things.
There's no self-accountability there. What the heck?
No, none whatsoever. And I'm just like, I don't know.
Well, and at one point, you got to look in the mirror and say, like, am I the problem? Like, is
she will never do that.
Yeah.
She's supposed to examine ourselves daily, man. She ain't doing it.
No, literally, she's like, you guys ruined it. We had a good thing going. Like, we used to have so much fun. We used to go out. We used to do this. And I'm like, you've only known me since I was married, and I have never gone clubbing with you. So I'm not sure why you're having this conversation with me. Because,
it's like business as usual. What do you mean?
Right? I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about. But yeah, I can tell her. Her friends are starting to dwindle because she's still acting like a 19-year-old.
Yep.
And nobody got time for that. Like, you need quality friends.
Well, the thing is also, it's like it sounds like her emotional maturity, and thank you, Locked and Loaded, for Latinos, for being here. I appreciate you. It sounds like her emotional maturity is literally not to be had. You know, it's at one point you have to get to the point of I gotta grow up. I need to, you know, it's okay to be fun in some contexts, and definitely some contexts is very appropriate. But at one point you have to look at yourself and decide you got to grow up. And it's, you know, especially if her friends are moving on and getting partners, you know, a lot of men, especially as you near certain milestones like 30 or 40, it's like men are going to look at you and be like, yeah, I need someone who is not going to bitch about doing my laundry. Sorry. That's just like, I'm a firefighter.
You need substance. You need skill. Like the last time we talked, this has been a minute now. I'm pretty sure I made her mad, but I don't care. Like, I was being a true friend, and I'm like, listen, I'm just going to tell you what you need to do. You need to go find a skill and be useful, because her whole plan was literally to marry rich and be beautiful. Like, that was her whole, like, work on, like, that's what she wanted in life. And I'm like, do you know how to do a load of laundry? Do you know how to hand wash a dish? Why would you hand wash a dish? I'm like, you know, there's some dishes that can't go in a dishwasher, right?
Yep.
She's like, well, that's dumb. And I'm like, oh, my sweet Jesus. And like, it's just, it's so bizarre to me to see people like that.
Yeah.
And they have no desire. Like, not only do they not have the self-awareness, like you were saying, Radi, but they have no desire either. Like, none to improve themselves or their situation.
Yeah, that's insane. And you know, as much as my kids drive me nuts, I have two freaking daughters.
Aww.
Whew, they laugh. They wash dishes by hand. Like, y'all know how to do this.
Yep.
You make rice,
Mm-hmm.
eggs, whatever. They're like 11 and 14. So it's like, man.
Wow. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. It's really crazy, because especially in it is geographical, but that's also because it seems like values seem to be like the coasts, East and West Coast, have certain values for the most part, at least like the Northeast and the West Coast. And then you get to like the Heartland and the South and the Great Plains and the Texas, which is its own thing. You know, you get like the Southern Midwest and stuff like that. And the values shift very drastically depending a lot. Like, if you look at sort of values that are held by specific people and the overall atmosphere of some states, they're very different. Like, a lot of states that tend to have certain more conservative views are very much, you have to be self-reliant, you have to be sufficient, and you have to be able to depend on yourself in situations. You can't do it all by yourself, but you should be able to do a majority, and you should try to not add to a burden. You should always try to help take on a burden to lighten it for everyone. Many hands make light work type of mentality.
Yeah.
And then you go to a little bit more liberal states, and it's very much someone else will pick it up, someone else will get it. You know, we're going to shout from the rooftops, but it's going to be the legislation that pushes stuff through. Like, guys, I don't know if you know this in the chat. You have the ability to write a bill. You know that, right? As citizens of America, you can write a bill and present, like, you have to get it sponsored by a rep, but you can write a bill and push it through, like, Congress. You can do that. But I guarantee you that most of these people who live in these liberal states who are screaming about all of these changes that they want and all of these things that they want, I'll bet you 9 out of 10 of them don't know that. Because it's always someone else that has to pick up after them, or someone else will take care of it. You know, it's like, well, we're here showing support, but they're not actually doing any supporting. It's the same thing like we're seeing with these with entertainment, like we were talking about with Yaira. They're like the reason, and Isom and the RippaVerse, we're gonna circle back to that. See, look at that, Lage, it all fits. But
it does all fit.
But if you look at it, you know, there wasn't a bunch of, like, we weren't in the streets screaming for Rippa to release this. We weren't in the streets demanding that we get this certain thing, this certain comic or this certain story. But when it was presented, we came out in force to support it because, one, we actually have the ability to do so from a monetary stance. Like, we actually have the means. Not all of us have the same amount as others, but clearly, I mean, hold on, now I got to go to RippaVerse.com, which you all should do. So let's see. He's got 39,428 backers.
Yep.
So if that is the case, that means that that's just under 40,000 people who were able to, in some way, shape, or form, monetarily support something. Because in general, we've all been begging for entertainment, something that was going to be, you know, apolitical, tell a good story, have a set of values and rules that it adhered to, and would be interesting and character driven. Rippa is about to deliver that. And so we reciprocated. We were like, boom, here you go. This is what we're willing to do for you. And so the corporate and mainstream media, especially stuff like comic book reviews, like so CBR and Vice and Mary Sue and all these other like very political focused, tunnel visioned, specific affiliation and all about the ideology. I struggle to call them journals or like news sites, but like these sites that are like that, they're just like they're like, well, clearly this is because my favorite still is because Eric July is the new black face of white supremacy.
Yeah.
And I was just like,
how does that make sense in their mind?
Exactly. Like the hoops you just had to jump through to arrive there are truly astounding. And Eric's been getting called, oh guys, oh man, I don't know if you've seen, but he has been called everything.
Yeah.
Everything.
Lots of egregious terms out there, really loosely just thrown out there, like it's just no big deal.
Absolutely. And they're mad because that's 3.3 million, almost $3.4 million that isn't going towards their stuff.
Yep.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead. Sorry. I'll let you finish your thought.
No, go on, Radi.
You go ahead. I've been ranting for like 3
hours. No, it's okay. That's what I've noticed like lately, especially after the launch and after the initial $1 million is put out there. It's been a lot of people who are creators themselves or trying to get into that space, and it's them throwing the dirt at him. And it would, instead of sitting down, taking notes, asking meaningful questions, providing constructive criticism, like really constructive criticism, they are tearing him down, like as Eric calls it, crabs in the bucket, just trying to pull him down. And it's like, dude, there's so much gold to be had here. If only you would just approach it from a different perspective. There's so much to learn. He is encouraging people to like do what he's doing, to learn from him. Instead, like they are accusing him of being, you know, tap dancing for the right, or they don't even know what his political views are.
I know, that was the funniest thing I'd heard forever. The dude, like, I mean, I hate rhinos as well, but like he holds just as much, almost as much contempt for Republicans for oh gosh, what is it? He said it in a stream one time. Institutional Republicans as he does Democrats, because it's the same party, essentially, is what he said. Like, yeah, that sounds like someone who's tap dancing for the right.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, I completely agree.
It blows my mind. Yeah, it blows my mind. It's like, you guys are just, man, is it this? And this is how you're going to treat someone else who is demonstrating success? You're going to treat someone else like that, doing their own thing, and you see their failed projects or their projects that aren't, you know, picking up as much speed or whatever. It's like, man, you guys are blowing it.
And that is about as anti-masculine as you can possibly be, is when you tear someone else down for their own success rather than letting it inspire you to your own success, like using it as sort of a guiding light. Because you have the ones who come in and they're like, give me the 3 steps that you use to make $3.4 million on this comic book. And it's like, there is no 3-step plan. There's no 10-step plan. Like, you literally just have to sit down and do the thing, right? Like, Rippa said that a lot.
Yeah.
But then you also, like you said, it's these other creatives are coming out and they're like, well, they stole that money that could have been our money. Right. But he took it. And it's like, no, he didn't.
No, he didn't. And you see other people, or who was that guy? Ty, the animator dude. He was like, oh, he's always stuck in my brain, but he's the one talking about, like, yeah, we need to make sure that, you know, you've earned your space. Who is he answering to? Who is he answering to? He's answering to the people that he's creating this RippaVerse world for, his customers. That's who he's answering to first. He doesn't owe anybody else anything.
No.
And to act entitled, you're hateful and entitled, like, that's not a good combination, bro.
No, I completely agree. Like, what blows, like, I never understood why there's such this huge push of people who like want to tax the ever-loving crap out of everybody, right? Into basically just tax everyone into poverty, until I realized that these people genuinely believe that they have a right to other people's property and earnings, and that they hate the thought of having to put in honest work to get their, like, to earn anything, essentially. But like they literally do believe that, based on simply existing as a human, they have the right to these specific things, and no one should be able to out earn them or anything like that, because then that's not fair.
Yeah.
Well, and that's kind of a good segue, Lady G. You know, you talked about this kind of with me behind the scenes before we got on. And now I've lost my train of thought. Dang it. Well, but in any case, kind of bouncing off what you and Radi are saying, essentially what this article, and again, it lay aside the fact it's about the princesses. Essentially what this article ends on is most moms, most women are from every single sphere. They are from every single demographic. They do this, they don't do that. You can't pin down who's a Disney princess fan, right? It's for anyone and everyone. And a lot of them are horrified that Disney pushes this woke agenda, this woke narrative that they don't want their daughters ingesting and that they don't want their daughters to be part of. Yeah. And you're both moms. And I mean, I know you can deeply empathize with it. I hope I'm one day. But what they end on is, these women don't generally voice their concerns. They don't voice their objections in a public forum or on social media or anything. But what they end on is, don't forget, says Carter, I'm the one buying the movies for my child.
Mm-hmm.
And the Daily Wire, when they announced their kids shows, they didn't get, people weren't just signing up for the hell of it. They're like, yes, we finally, maybe something we don't have to be worried about our kids watching. And, as a parent, it's like, yeah, like, we have the power to support the things that, it's not even about the politicalization of anything. It's just, we have the ability to pick and choose what our children consume. And I mean, this is a little bit of a rabbit trail from what you were saying, but like, we didn't support Rippa just to support Rippa. It's like, no, finally some good entertainment. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Exactly. And here's the thing. And Rippa has been, here's the thing. The only way that Rippa, because people are calling him a grifter as well, and we all know that to be BS, but the only way that Rippa comes out of this as a grifter is if everything he said, that the customer is always, that the customer is right. We'd love to have you as a customer, regardless of your political affiliation. If you don't like my politics, we'd still love you to buy the book. Obviously making quips off of other statements that other quote unquote creatives have made themselves. And he gives us updates on where he's at. If you guys watch Rippa's live streams, he'll give us updates on where they're at. Over the weekend, he posted pictures of the warehouse that they've already outgrown because there's so much demand for this.
Yep.
And it's gotten to the point, the only way Rippa walks away as a grifter is if, when it's all said and done, the book comes out and we read it and it turns out to be everything that he said it wasn't.
Yep.
That's it. And then he comes out and is like, I've subverted your expectations. Because what that is a cop-out. It means that they knew they would not be able to exceed or even meet the expectations that you had set. So they just went about not even attempting to reach them and went the complete opposite way. And in doing so, have pissed off fans. And now that whole subvert expectations line, we know that to be a massive red flag and double speak for the fact that this is not at all what you want, at all what you need, or anything that you would expect to see from this particular genre or IP, but we're going to do it anyway because it's what gets us our ESG funding, or it gives us the studio permission, or it might keep the how do I word this so you don't get hit? The Rainbow Brigade off of us.
There you go.
Right? It's like, maybe we won't get any hate from that. Like, that's the thing. There are people who have no monetary power of their own, but they can scream really, really loud and make it seem like they will ultimately affect bottom line sales. And in attempting to avoid, this is called, I've mentioned this before, in psychology, this is a term known as distancing, where you attempt so hard, whatever the subject of your focus is, whether it's a person, an identity, a place, whatever it is, you try to focus so hard on not becoming that thing that you actually come around to being that very thing or suffering that very thing. It's basically a self-fulfilling prophecy kind of deal. But so these woke people, feminists and everything like that, that one, they have no monetary power really of their own, but they scream so loudly and they make all these demands and they have this social media presence that's really kind of a closed circuit of its own, but that's something else entirely.
Oh,
that
I remember what,
these companies. Oh, go ahead.
Before I lose it, I remember what you were going to say about this article in particular. The liberals don't have the ability to build anything as powerful as these ladies. So all they can do now is tear it apart.
Yep. They have to copy and paste over them rather than create something new. And the same thing with these SJWs who are screaming, who are squealing. These companies didn't want to lose all of these, like they didn't want it to affect their bottom line. So they gave in to all of these demands by these SJWs and these woke individuals and these other influential people. Mm-hmm. And when they did that, it affected their bottom line because they alienated, isolated, and insulted the customer base that has been there for decades. So in like economics and marketing and stuff like that, you've got your you have this sort of Punnett Square almost looking thing. I don't. Do you guys want to get a crash course really quick? Hang on. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Hang on.
Yes, and then I want to move on because I think you had some good things to say, and I might be delusional in making this up, but maybe I am. I want to go into the defense of the boring guy thing because I think that will be an interesting way to wind down to end on.
Okay. So what we're looking at, so this is the market. This is this is known as a market share matrix. FYI, if you go to business school, this is about 85% of what everything is based off of. So here you go. You're about to get like $30,000 worth of education.
Well done, Lady J.
So here is market growth right here on this side, high, low, and here is relative market share, high, low. Where most people want to be, where cash cow, hold / like your strategies are hold and harvest. So so your market growth is not very high, but you have very high market share. It's very steady. Disney princesses are a cash cow.
Yep.
A dog, if you see it falls in the low, it is a dog. Like, have you ever heard the term "that dog don't hunt"? Heard that term?
No.
No. Oh dang! All right, that must be a North Dakotan thing. I apologize, but basically, if it's a dog, it means that there's no market growth and there's barely any market share. There's low demand, like there's just not a lot there. It's a dog. Get rid of it. Reinvent it, reinvigorate it, get rid of it. This is where SJWism / wokeism / all that stuff. That's where this belongs. But people are trying to treat it as a star where it burns very fast. The reason it's called a star is because this goes fast. And if you notice, all of this really came through in 2016 and it's already collapsing in on itself. And hasn't even really made it. It's not even made it a full decade. Like it is now it probably died within 3 years if we're going to be absolutely truthful, but it keeps getting drug along because there is still this, because of the false hype that social media has created. They're trying to convince themselves that it went from a star to a cash cow instead of a star to a dog, right? So that's why it like, because the woke stuff brought in money in the beginning. It really did. It does not anymore, and it's down here in the dog. And then when you see this question mark box, there's another term for it too. It depends like what business model you're looking at, or matrix you're looking at. But question mark is you have low market share but high market growth, and this is actually kind of where Rippa is at right now, because his market growth, we saw that. Like, we've got the numbers. We've got the here. Hold on. I'll move this over here. We'll bring up ISOM. So we have his revenue. His campaign goal was $100,000. He has over $3 million and almost 40,000 over. Here, let's see. Did it update it all? Not yet. So almost 40,000 backers. So that would be his market share, right? Mm-hmm. And so when you combine, like, there's all this math you have to do, but that's a huge, like, right now he's kind of, and I think like Cyberfrog would probably be something that you could kind of compare it to, or like Razor Fists. It's hard because Razor Fist is a different genre and a different type. But basically, RippaVerse is kind of chilling in its own market right now because Marvel and DC have ditched their cash cows, essentially. So RippaVerse is in this situation where it's a question mark, and the reason that we say that is because it's going to depend. Like, it's not a star, even though I said he's kind of chilling in his own market. The only reason I won't call it a star is because depending on the quality of the book, which I'm assuming is going to be fantastic, those are my expectations. Eric July, those are your expectations from me. Please make this good. I mean, I have no doubt you will, but literally those are my expectations for you. But based on how it goes, this is either going to be a star that turns into a cash cow, or this is going to become a dog, and it won't grow. Like, because cash cows can become dogs, Dogs do not become cash cows. It doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Question marks can become cash cows as well. But so this is where we're kind of sitting, because if this book is really good, his market share, it will move into star, because this now creates hype for number 2. And so his market growth is going to be high, and his share is going to be high, because now who's going to compete with him? He's got nothing else of that quality to compete with as of right now. And so, like we were talking earlier, you can look at that success, and like Radi said, you can either view it as a threat and unfair, and he shouldn't have that because he took, he took our money from us, right? Like we were saying.
Mm-hmm.
Or you can be like, damn, I'm going to go do this thing too. And when and if that happens, you'll cut into, you take a small part of that market share. And so then he'll kind of maybe go back into the question mark, depending on how well that particular competition does, right? And then Isom might become a cash cow instead of a star. But I don't see it becoming a dog at all, just based on everything. So there you go. There is a brief breakdown economically and like straight from business school of why
I enjoyed that. I really did enjoy that.
There you go. Of why Isom is doing what it's doing and DC and Marvel are not. Yeah. And what how the haters are actually helping him. But yeah, that's the difference between social media buzz that don't turn into dollars and dollars that you don't necessarily see on social media. Social media does not translate into dollars directly. So
yeah,
there you go. Sorry for that, but
no, thank you. Thank you.
It's interesting. It's interesting to like understand. It's nice for me, as someone who does want to create content and has dreams and aspirations and goals, like to understand that like hopefully this isn't just a bubble we're creating, that we as a whole, as a community, as fellowship, whatever you want to call it, that this is something sustainable that we can hope to build and grow in this, parallel economy or whatever it is, that we create alternate entertainment that does, fly in the fake of woke BS and all that stuff. So no, it's nice to like, hear that it's not just like, this isn't just an anomaly. Hopefully that this can sustain itself and grow and turn into something good, not just for Rippa, but for anyone who has, aspirations for all this. So no, thank you for that. That was interesting. But seeing as this is the feminine stream, let's end with a quick discussion about these topics, because it was interesting to think about this. And from my perspective, it was interesting to think about this because I never had the wild girl phase. I came out 35, and my mom says I have gotten more middle-aged every single year of my life. I never did the bad boy thing. I liked Loki for like a hot minute, and then I got over it. I never really had the bad boy phase. Like I never was like, I've always been kind of like this, prudish Jane Austen girl who's always kind of I hate, full disclosure, I hate The Office with like everything inside me. My mom will literally tell me for me to text her when I'm on my way home from running groceries, so she'll know to turn off The Office because that's how mad it makes me. I hate The Office so deeply. But I loved Jim and Pam, and it was interesting that like to kind of read this. I can't actually remember if they went into like their relationship, but I was like, yeah, he's kind of the boring guy. He's kind of still the nice guy or whatever. And so I wanted to get your ladies' takes on this because I thought it was just an interesting, especially when they got into this other article about the fake masculinity thing. I thought that was fascinating. So, so I don't know, what Radi, did you have any particular thoughts on these articles?
Let me see. So, in defense of the boring guy, hey, I imagine that it has to do a lot with the nice, the whole nice guys finish last and all that stuff. I don't know. I've been married for a long time. I've been married for almost like 14 years. And,
wow, lady, that's awesome.
Yeah, we've had our ups and downs. What relationship doesn't or whatever.
Sure.
But I'd like to imagine that my husband is definitely one of those like nice guy types. Good, definitely the good husband material type. He works hard for his family. He provides. That's I don't know. There's I guess for some people there might be a thrill in the whole like, you know, bad boy thing, and there's that stereotype out there where girls try to change the bad guy into a nice guy type, you know. That is definitely out there, but I don't know. I don't really have a whole lot to offer.
No, you're
Initially
good, lady.
anyway, in that regard.
But Lady G, you had said something kind of interesting backstage about like there's a difference between kind of the nice guy and the slash boring guy, which I thought was interesting because I think you're right, and I think that the a nice guy can still have that bravado, that like fake let me take care of you, but they have that quid, like you said, the quid pro quo mentality. And they still at the end of the day are not good for women either, which I thought was really interesting.
Yeah,
I'd like to hear more about that.
So I really think that this article, it gets so close, both of them do, but it sort of brushes over it. So with the bad boy, it is they mention that it's the presentment of hypermasculinity, but really what it is the shallow bravado of certain traits. So like, oh, he's fearless and he's daring and he's brave, because what in your brain you think means that he's protective and he isn't going to step down from a fight for something he believes in, and so what actually ends up happening they put up a really good front, but there's no substance to back it up.
Yeah, it's hollow.
And I think an article I would love to see an article that compares the boring guy to the nice guy, because the nice guy is the flip side of the bad boy. What the nice guy mentality usually is if I open enough doors for her, if I bring her enough flowers, if I'm courteous enough, she'll give it up, or she'll give me whatever it is that like ultimately whatever my end goal is, I'll get it from her if I'm nice enough. And so they're not good guys. They're not actually good guys. They're not nice. They're not good. They are also bad boys, but in a different sense. They're using a different strategy. They are attempting to seem passive and non-aggressive because they think that it will lull women into this false sense of
security.
Security, safety, and even superiority. And then the nice guy snaps. Because you hear it all the time. Oh, he was such a nice guy. All these freaking serial killers. They have a family. They have a wife. They have kids. They're on the freaking PTA and they coach Little League. He was a pillar of the community. He was such a nice guy. No, they're sociopaths, and they know what to present to people so that people assume that they are non-threatening and non-aggressive, so that they can get what they want.
Like a wolf in sheep's clothing, it sounds.
Exactly. Like. That is what a nice guy is. They are just as dangerous as bad boys, but even a little bit more. See, so the bad boy, you think you're getting someone who is brave and daring and adventurous and very fiery and very passionate, and then it turns out that he's a coward and he won't fight for you. He won't stand up for because he doesn't actually hold any beliefs outside of selfish ones, and he doesn't have any aspirations to be a protector. He doesn't have any aspirations to provide that sense of security to someone. And then you've got the nice guy who wants to lull you into that, but is also hollow and shallow and can't give you those things. And when you find that out, they snap, they get mad, and then they use that control to sort of keep you where you're at. The example I gave to Leisha is Roadhouse from '89 with Patrick Swayze. Patrick Swayze is a good man. He's not a nice guy. He's a good man. And we had been talking about Jordan Peterson's new miniseries, of Men and Monsters. Fantastic. If y'all have not watched it, highly recommend you do. And what makes a good man is not someone who is weak or incapable or unable to commit violence. It is someone who knows what the beast inside of them is and chooses to contain it until it is needed in a situation such as like that shooting that happened
Yes.
in I want to say Idaho, but it was Indiana. And he was able 8 out of 10 shots. He nailed that guy and he saved countless people's lives. That is a man who knows what he's capable of. He didn't can you imagine the screaming and the running and those situations are extremely stressful. Like if you can think of a situation that might be similarly as loud and crowded, think of being at like the carnival and nothing dangerous is going on, but just the noise of the machines, the laughing, the screaming from the rides, from the people on the rides. It's very loud. It's very distracting. It's very easy to sort of get overwhelmed even by that noise. Like a lot of little kids don't deal with fairs very well. You should, Grady, I'm sure you can attest to this as well. Little kids are really good right at the beginning, but then they start to get like stressed out because there's so much. They get sensory overload. It happens.
Overstimulated, yeah.
Exactly. So the fact that he was able to hit, I mean, his grouping, holy crap, I am insanely impressed. And
didn't he have a handgun? It was like,
yep, it was a pistol. It was a sidearm.
Yeah, sidearm.
Yeah, it was a sidearm. And so he was able to do that. That's a masculine man. That's a good man. And to get back to the Roadhouse example that I was given to Leja, is Dalton, Patrick Swayze's character. He is capable. He knows what he can do. He literally rips guys' throats out in this film. But it isn't until he gets pushed to that after his friend Wade, who is played by Sam Elliott. Spoilers if you haven't seen it. If not, go watch it right now. But Sam Elliott, who's also this same type of stoic archetype of male, he gets killed. And that's when Dalton basically goes after Brad Wesley, who is this bad guy. Now, Brad Wesley is a very seemingly powerful man. He has the whole town under his thumb. They all do what he wants. He has the control. But he's not he puts on the facade of a nice guy because he'll walk into Red's, who is this auto mechanic, this general store auto mechanic owner, walks into Red's shop and is like, Red, you'll have it, like he smiles and he's like, well, we need it. We need this, or else what happens. So Brad Wesley is not a good man, and he's not even a bad boy. He's a crook, and he's using the facade of a nice guy approach. Like, I brought this town back from the brink. I saved all of these small businesses. They all owe me. I'm entitled to this. It's very mobster mentality. Mm-hmm. And ultimately in the end, it took one good man, Dalton, for the town to finally step up and put Brad Wesley back in his place. But Dalton was ultimately pushed to that. And he, in that film, tells his guys, like, you're always polite until you're not. Right? And that's only when they throw the first punch. Like, we don't fight unless we have to. In the very opening scene where he, there's these guys want to fight him in this other bar, and he walks them outside, and then he smiles, laughs, and walks back inside. He beat him without having to break a sweat or throw a punch. Right? So that's the difference, because when you have that boring guy, it just means that is genuine traditional masculinity. He's stoic. He's got all that going for him.
There's that movie, and I can't, again, not a movie buff, but my mom always talks about it, is that at the end, like, this girl has been kidnapped and her father comes after her, and no, it's not taken. And he basically says, they're threatening to kill her. And she basically says, no, if anyone's going to kill her, or something like, if we go up together. Like, if you kill, I can't remember what it was. Now I'm going to have to ask my mom. Now I'm botching this. Never mind.
No, you're fine. I was intrigued.
But like, it's like this cult classic film. And if my mom's watching, hopefully maybe she can drop it in chat. But it's like this, it's the most masculine thing. And it wasn't like abusive kind of father. It was, no, she's my daughter. She is my property. She is my duty to look after and protect. If anyone is going to be killing anybody, me and her are going down together. you're not going to take my daughter is not your concern. You know, it's not your place to decide if she lives. It's mine. And I know that's a kind of an extreme example, but you know, the Patterson thing is that, did I say it right, or is it
Peterson?
Thank you. I will not ever get that right now. I know I've been saying it wrong this whole time. This, like, you know, the masculine man is dangerous, and he knows how to withhold that. It's true, because you know, you need to be dangerous when it calls for it, but also gentle and loving at other moments, and that's the distinction there between, I think, because the boring guy, to me, having read these articles, it's like the boring guy is the good guy. He's like the good guy that we cheer for in movies, and it's like, why are you not with him? Like, you idiot! Don't get with the, you know, the player. Like, no, it's the good man. You know what I mean?
It's the stoic masculinity that the facade that these bad boys and even these nice guys are trying to put on of protector and capable and self-determined, self-made. The boring guy actually imbues that.
Yeah.
He's actually capable of delivering that. But he's also not going to toot his own horn, because that is not a mark of masculine. Like, it's not a mark of masculinity to shout your success necessarily from the rooftops, because if you're truly successful, you can discuss it with other people. I'll use Eric July again as an example. Eric is not out there saying, look what I've done, look what I did, like, I'm so great. He's like, what? He's humble. He's like, look at what you guys have been able to do. You guys are crazy. You guys have pushed this thing so far. He's giving credit at, like, yes, this is his creation, but he's aware that without a market, without a fan base, it wouldn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
And so he's shouting out his letterer, his colorist, his artist, you know, like all he's giving credit
part of the team.
And now Radi, yes. And so he's giving credit where credit's due, but also he is seeing massive organic support for his work, and it's being continuously pushed out there. He didn't, I don't know, I will speak for myself, I suppose. But I have a strong feeling that pretty much everyone can agree with me. I wasn't paid by Rippa to give out my opinions or to tweet excitement. I got banned from Twitter because twice. I got locked. Yeah, twice in the same day. I got banned on Twitter because they assumed I was a bot, because I was so excited about his stuff. I was retweeting him. I was retweeting replies to his tweets. I was sharing my own stuff, and all of a sudden it was like, hey, we need you to do this to prove that you're not a bot. So I emailed support, and I was like, this is, like, I told him, I was like, this is ridiculous. You don't need this extra information. I'm clearly not a bot. Please unblock my account. And I got unblocked for what, Leish, 30 minutes?
Yeah.
And then they blocked me again for the same reason. And I was like, this is ridiculous. And so I had to go through that rigmarole again. And I was like, please stop allowing false flags of me being a bot, because what I had figured out what was happening was someone was reporting me as a bot. I got an email that said, it has been reported that you are possibly, like, to sum up the email, I showed Leja. It literally says, it's been reported that your account has acted in suspicious, or has been a part of suspicious activity that is similar to a bot. And I was like, listen, someone is uber jealous of Eric if my tiny ass little account is making them worry for real.
Yeah.
Like, that's insane. But
you have a lot of influence though, Lady G.
Oh,
you do.
Sweet. I don't think so. As much, like, that's so sweet. I don't know. If I had influence, I think what is it? Oh gosh. Gail Simone said it. Like, if you truly have influence, you'd have people who love you like me or something like that. I don't know. Like, I guess I don't think I have any simps anyway. She was talking about simps. But no, I appreciate that, Radi. I think you have a lot of influence too, because you're uber talented. Like, even your little avatar is just adorable, and I want it.
Thank
but
you.
I can't draw. at
I know.
all. Like I can draw. That's a lie. I can draw stick people like you wouldn't believe. They are so good. I could draw them on a hill. I could draw them next to a stream. And I can do the little
stick figures.
I can do the sun. You know that sun in the corner, and you make like the squiggly rays. I can do one of them. Absolutely. Yeah. I know where my strengths are. Yeah. No, but for real, it's amazing to see all this organic love. And I know Eric is aware of this, but I think if people knew just how much power they actually have, they would be utterly stunned at the waves that they could make, because it has come to a point now where the average everyday person can have more effect on people than they ever had before. And just by virtue of being honest and truthful, and not this my truth nonsense, but actually telling the truth.
Yeah, my truth. If I could roll, if I rolled my eyes any harder, they'd be stuck. My truth.
Yeah. So it's interesting to see where we're at, because I think so. My hope and expectation for Isom is that we go back to a traditional stoic masculine male who is complemented by a feminine, nurturing female. Because even when females get mad, something that I don't see in movies anymore is like, and I know that you don't like chick flicks, Lage, but something that I don't see anymore is like, well, you were mad at me, and so I thought that meant you didn't want to talk to me. And it's like, and then the girl is like, I was mad at you because I care about you and you're being stupid. Like, so even when women like get mad or they do certain things, they're still trying to act with the betterment of the other person in mind. Yeah, right?
It's like if they don't get mad, they don't care.
Exactly. And so but you don't see that anymore, because getting mad at the situation, or getting mad in the attempt to try and getting mad at the situation, or getting mad at the fact that they would do something to hurt themselves or not love themselves, or something along those natures. That's not what it's about anymore. Now if you see a female character get mad, it's because dumb patriarchy,
stop mansplaining.
Yes, it's always that now. It is never, because do you remember it's really more in the book than it is in the films, but in the movie there is for Lord of the Rings, when Éomer finds Éowyn, and he first is like shocked, and then he's like screaming, and then he goes into denial, and he's like, no. Well, in the books, you can tell he's like, he wants her to get better, but also he's like pissed at her because she didn't listen, and now she could die. So you never get that type of dynamic anymore, especially with males and females. And yes, she did, like, Faramir and she, like, they found each other, which was amazing. And he thought, I'm going to misquote the book. I can't. No, I'm not even going to do it, because then someone's going to clip that and they'll be like, see, she got it wrong. And I'm like, you're right. I'm sorry. I didn't know the exact line out of the book off the top of my head, and I don't have the book in front of me. But basically what it boils down to is, you're getting upset because you care about that other person, or you were worried for that other person, and they made you worry so much to the point where you may have like worried sick and you feared for their lives, that you kind of just want to slap them over the back of the head. It's that situation where it's like, I swear to God, if you die, I will kill you. Yeah. But we don't get that anymore. Have you noticed that?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, in books. I mean, Radi, how about you? I try not to read the modern day crap, because I'm like, I feel like I've got a good beat on what's out there. But Radi, what about you?
I know. I definitely pick up on what Lady G is talking about in terms of what outrages women these days when it comes to men. And it definitely isn't for those reasons, because, that they care or whatever. It is because of they're tired of being mansplained to. They're tired of going back to the whole opening of doors and stuff. They're mad for like really bizarre reasons at like men these days.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the amount of people the amount of women I've seen say, "Oh, men, we don't need them. They're ruining everything. All men need to do this." It's like, man, then take Lady G's idea and go off to your own little island. Go off, do what you want, do what you need to do for yourself to make you feel better about your weird life choices and stuff. And yeah, we'll get along just fine without you guys.
Yep, we will. In fact, we'll get along better without you guys.
Yeah, we'll check back in 10 years and see who's doing better.
Yep.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, not to make us pivot again, but I do like taking when I'm posed with a question, I definitely want to address it. And Arcus still came out with a good one, which I think is interesting, because I know that the shrimp thing is a little more. I think it's more of a thing on Twitch, which I'm again, hopefully sometime in the future, maybe next year, I will be able to get into Twitch because of my computer issues. But Radi, you've got your Twitch channel, and Lady G, you're monetized. Obviously, I have my StreamYards link, but I mean, I can't boast of, any great, I deeply appreciate my tips and stuff. But Radi, what is your take on this? Because I find this interesting. Because see, I have a different. I would add to this, Arc, but I want to hear what the other ladies have to say.
Okay, so Arc asks, why is it that men are called shrimps if they support a woman monetarily? I think honestly depends on who you're asking.
Yeah.
But my thing is with that is that if you see, I think that it surrounds this idea that women have it easy on Twitch. I think Johnny made a little joke about it. It's like, oh man, I need to be a woman on Twitch apparently because we got all these dudes who are just throwing their money at women. And I know he was being facetious when he said it, but it speaks to a truth that is there. I don't know how often I hear, oh, women have it so easy. All I gotta do is grow a pair of boobs and I'll get money and I'll get this and I'll get that. So they don't realize there are a lot of women out there who don't get those things. There are a lot of women out there who aren't putting them. I mean, I'm just a voice on Twitch right now. I don't show my camera. I used to. There was a point in time where I did have cam. But it's just it's so weird. They call men incels, virgins, and all that stuff if you're throwing money at these women. And a lot of the time, on another aspect of it, a lot of these dudes, they do throw money at women with a weird expectation of something in return. So it's multifaceted, really. But I think it boils down to this idea that women have it really easy on Twitch. Yeah.
I am going to piggyback off that, if that's okay, Leish.
Sure.
Yeah, go on.
And I will, I'll post with it. It goes back to kind of what we said earlier about the difference between nice guys, good guys, / boring guys, and bad boys. The simps on Twitch, or YouTube or whatever, they are presenting a nice front. They're like, oh, I'm going to build her up. I'm doing all these things for her. But like Radi just said, they have this underbelly expectation of something more. So I think what sort of is specifically the subject matter itself. In this case, it's the woman, because you attract what you set out bait for. So if you are promiscuous and you do the cleavage or the, I know some girls, they don't even sit cross-legged. They sit in a V purposefully. And they do sort of heavier I've said it before, you can be classy or you can be trashy. And sometimes you can walk a very fine line between the two, but they're usually pretty easy to tell the difference between. And so if it's the latter and people are like, oh, don't slut shame. Hey, you know what? If men and women are willing to pay for that content, then that is the type of content that they are looking for. So if you go out looking for those types of women on Twitch, who are, in a committed relationship, whether that's a boyfriend or a fiance or married, there was a case, there was a situation, Papa Gundam shared it, This chick was dating her boyfriend, and a fan sent, 15 grand to meet her in person and shake her hand and take one picture. And then she and her boyfriend went on vacation, and he proposed, and now they're using the money. They used the money to go on vacation. He proposed, and now they're engaged and planning a wedding. So to me, knowing that someone was in a committed relationship, whether I knew it or not, paying 10 grand to meet someone and have that, like Radi said, sort of that underbelly expectation of something else, that would be what is a simp. Whereas you have, like we talked about before, the boring / good guy. He's doing it because he has the ability to help you succeed, and he wants to do so. It is his money to make a decision with. He's looked at his finances, and he's determined that he can support you for this much money. And so he makes the masculine decision to aid in the success of someone else in however that may look, whether it's buying merch, whether it's a donation, maybe they gift subs, or so like here it's you can gift memberships on Twitch. You can gift subs, so maybe they do it that way. So that would be the difference between it. It's the subject matter itself and the intent behind it.
Well, okay, so Johnny says, obviously I'm with Alasia now, but when I was single, I tried to be self-evaluating about who I gave money to. Women tend to give money to single, attractive women. I would try to give to people like Mike and J2 just to keep it in check. A lot of people just support for self reasons rather than actually caring about the streamer.
Exactly.
That's so true.
Yeah. I choose who I want to give my money to mostly because I got to know that person and want to support them. Yeah, for sure. And so my and Radi, you deserve every bit. Sorry if the joke hit too close to home, but people love you because you're one of the funniest streamers out there, and that I very much agree with.
I appreciate it. Oh no, I took no offense to that, by the way, Johnny. I didn't take any offense to that at all. So no worries. Nothing hits too close to home in that regard. So because I get it, you know what I'm saying. I do understand.
But yeah, so something that I would add on to, it's not just the subs or super chats or whatever. What I've noticed some people do that and then they follow them to Twitter and they're like it's like they got notifications turned on for everything they post on Twitter and then Instagram and then whatever it is other platform you use, whether it be TikTok or I'm a boomer now, apparently, according to my 10-year-old little sister. So my 10 years younger little sister, she's like, you don't know anything about anything anymore. I'm like, that is accurate. Wait till you get to 30. But it's their behavior after they drop the super chat, because I've noticed, and a lot of people, sometimes, Corey, I always appreciate his support. He donates, and I'm deeply appreciative. And his chats are they're funny, they're lighthearted, they're meant to be, a laugh for the stream. But a lot of people do drop a super chat or whatever, what have you, because they have something to say. And usually for me, you can usually tell between someone like, Johnny has the joke in Radi's chat that I have learned to know about, because I make that sound, but I make it for different reasons. I just make it struggle bus myself. But it's so there's the funny, there's the inside jokes, there's the jokes that we all have as streamers, but then there can be super chats or subs or whatever, what have you, that are done as the the quid pro quo aspect, and then they're the ones who genuinely have something to say. And I think there are 3 different categories. And I did at one point in my Discord say like, hey, this joke that we've got running, I'm a little bit tired of it. I want us to lay it to the side. I'm not going to acknowledge it anymore. And I'm a little bit more of like the school marm, and with my chat and with my Discord, I do expect people to follow the rules, and people have learned that and they respect that, and I'm appreciative of that. But I think that it's not just the super chats, it's the behavior after the super chats that for me kind of defines where I stand with certain people, in whatever context it is. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's kind of like I hope that kind of maybe adds a little more context for me as a woman and being very new to this whole streaming thing. It's the behavior after the stream ends that I find kind of defines where that shrimp territory comes in.
Yes, that's very true. I can't. There's been a couple of times, and this is like in the first couple of years of my streaming stuff. It's like I've had people like give me money, and then they have this expectation. It's like, well, I gave this to you, so you need to play this game or do this game. And it's like, bro, if you're gonna give me money with the expectation, I let it be known, I am not shy about this stuff. If you're gonna give me money under this idea that I owe you something, don't give it to me.
Because really, here's the thing, and I know that this is gonna sound really callous, but it's the truth. The only thing that your money gets is the super chat, whether it was a super sticker or like the word, whatever's typed in there. Just because someone makes, and just because that super chat may have a request in it, does not mean that it is the obligation of that person to follow through with it. Right. One of the things that I hate to see is like, is super chats where, it's, hey, could you shout out my this, that, or the other? Because if you do something like that on a stream like FNT, for example, that's got, I mean, some anywhere between 10,000 to 16,000 people watching. Here's the thing: those people already saw your super chat, and an opinion was formed in their mind. It was either this person is like really, because it's essentially like you're trying to pay for an ad spot, right?
Yeah, self-promotion. That's what it is.
Yeah, exactly. And so people have a specific opinion. Now, if you do it as a joke, because like people do it all the time, they'll be like, hey, make sure you shout out the GoFundMe for quarter blacks Garrett, 3/4 white side, so we can get it taken care of. Like, that's obviously not what I'm talking about, guys. Yeah. But, you know, when you're talking about, hey, I have a campaign going, or hey, I have this. Yeah, I get that you kind of need a push, because everybody, like, we're all kind of looking for that break, right?
Yeah.
And you know, you have to actively go out and seek it, but you don't. I'm going to give this piece of advice: don't ride someone's coattails to get it, because you kind of come off as sort of like, I'm only here to promote my own stuff. I don't actually care about what's going on right now. And that is not a message, whether it's intentional or not, that you want to be sending out to people.
Yeah. And one rule of thumb I have for myself, and this has always been the thing, I always get weird when people ask me about my streams and other people's chats. I always get really weird about that.
Yeah.
I always say, hey, I'm not here for that. And sometimes it might rub people the wrong way. I've DM'd people, it's like, hey, I'm going to do this at this time. I don't want to talk about my stream and this person. I'm not here for that. But it's like self promotion. Some people do it in my channel. It's like, dude, like people who I've never met before, or people who I don't know very well, they'll come in and I'll give them advice like, yo, man, like, and I understand, like, I'll check you out, but going forward, do not do this in other people's chat rooms, because it doesn't really sit well with the streamer a lot of times. And a lot of streamers aren't, they don't want to come across as mean. They don't want to come across as like, oh, I'm trying to hate on this other person and not give them any spotlight. But it's like, you're putting the streamer in a very odd position.
Because here's the thing: if they don't know you, or if they don't know your product, and they're like, hey, go check this out, now their name is attached to it. And now if it's crap material, people are going to go get mad at that streamer. Right? Or if it's something that's maybe not appropriate or not what they said it was, like, that's why you have to be really, really, like, I totally get why it's there. And there's some streamers that are totally fine with you doing that. And like, I just used FNT as an example. I'm not saying you can't, like, I'm not saying you can't do that in FNT. It's not like, I don't think Gary or Jeremy or any of them have had a rule where, no, you can't say that as a super chat. So please don't go say, hey, this is what Lady Gravemaster said about FNT. That wasn't my point. My point was, when you do it in a stream like that with a streamer who may not be cool with it, like Radi said, you've put them in an awkward position, because they don't want to come off as mean or unsupportive, because we've been talking about, hey, do your own thing, create your own thing, so that we can, you know, we can get some more stuff out there and we can let people know. Well, how are you going to know if you don't tell people? Well, a way to maybe do that is send the super chat and instead say, hey, Brady, you know, I just want to let you know, I sent you an email or a DM or you know, on Instagram or whatever, tell them where they can find that info. Be like, this is what this is the title of the email, or this is the name of this is my handle for the DM to look for. I have a book, or I have a comic, or I have a song that I'd love for you to check out. And if you like it, maybe you could, you know, maybe you could share your thoughts on it. Something to that effect is a bit more tactful and a bit more professional, rather than just a straight up plug necessarily. That's just my.
Well, I think it's really sound advice. It's very sound advice, for sure.
But yeah, geez, we're getting all kinds of business info on here tonight. Rady's over here with all kinds of wisdom. I pulled out a freaking matrix. Hey, you gotta start charging people for business school.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Like I said, that one class with that matrix was probably the classes that I took related to that matrix. That was probably about $30,000 worth of education right there.
That was awesome.
I always laugh too, because I'm like, dude, out of the insane amount of money that I spent, there's only, I think, maybe like 6 lessons that were worth taking away for my life in particular. But yeah, I'm just like, man, the rest of that I really didn't need. I did not need to know. Like, I only laugh at this because it made no sense in any context of any business class that I'd ever taken. But I really don't need to know the difference between how many people fill up plastic water bottles and how many people fill up reusable water bottles at the water fountain. Like, so the water fountains now have a bottle adjustment on them where you can put a water bottle underneath it and it'll fill up. You can keep the water bottle standing straight up and it pours it into the water bottle rather than hitting the handle and it comes out like a traditional fountain. You can do either or. And they did all this research and they were like, yeah, so more people are reusing their plastic water bottles and it's keeping them out of the ocean. And I'm like, at no point in my life am I ever going to need to know that. Ever.
Yeah. No, there are things in my history classes that I've gone over that not necessary. But in any case, we are at our 2-hour mark. We kind of went all over the place, but I think this was a really good conversation. I really appreciate you ladies coming on and talking about it. I really think it was interesting to talk about how opening a door is the bare minimum.
Yes,
it literally is. And again, it just gets down to manners because I do that for people all the time.
Mm-hmm. And I have a question. I do have a question, actually. This is a question I've been sitting on, but there's no good segue, so I'm just going to drop it in here.
All right.
For the two of you, how would you feel if a man asks you out on a date, picks you up, opens, shows all of the shivers, pulls your chair out for you, right? Ooh, big doggy. Love it. How would you feel if he ordered food for you? That has become a thing as well, because that is also a very masculine move. But there's 2 ways to approach it that I've noticed that I was okay with.
What? I bought.
Wow.
It's not me.
I know.
But you're big time now, Leish.
I know. You should have seen. I got 5 bots my last stream. It was insane. Anyways.
So how do you? So I have an opinion on it, but I'll wait because I want to hear what do you ladies think of men ordering food for you on a date?
Well, I'm gonna let Radi go first because she is the food queen. I feel like they can boil water. So, Radi, take it away.
I think it depends. Honestly, it depends on what's being ordered for me. But I think the gesture in and of itself, I think it can be considered a sweet thing.
Mm-hmm.
But
is it a first date thing?
First date. Oh, for a first date.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it would depend on what he would order for me. Yeah, because if he knows a little bit about what my tastes are, what I like, and he goes based off of that, trying to impress me, I could appreciate the sentiment in that and be like, "Hey, man, that's pretty sweet." But if he just orders like, "Yeah, you're gonna eat this," I'm like, yeah, or waiter, can you come back to the table, please? It all depends. It all depends on the intention behind it, to be honest.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm Miss Scenario. Would it be depending on if you've been there before? Yeah, kind of. For me, I'm allergic to MSG. I'm allergic to certain food dyes. I have no desire to go to the hospital. So if you like didn't ask me like, hey, do you have any dietary restrictions? Is there anything I shouldn't order for you? Like, for example, steak. I can't eat red meat unless there are no GMOs, no antibiotics, and it has to be grass-fed. I have very recently found this out, so I'm going to slowly start incorporating red meat back into my diet. I haven't had it in 5 years. I'm very excited. Anyways,
Nice.
For me, it would, if it was a first date thing, I would be pretty peeved because I'm also a control freak. Like surrendering control for me is kind of an issue for me, and I am doing it. It's when you're with someone that you really care about, it's not that hard. But I am a control freak, and I would be pretty pissed off, especially if it didn't ask if I had food dietary restrictions. If it were like, as someone who's newly come to a relationship and is on cloud 9, essentially, if Johnny did that for me, he knows what I can and can't eat, and he knows what I like, believe it or not. So I would not have a problem with him doing that. No, that wouldn't bug me at all. So yeah, there are too many scenarios in there that I would have a hard time. First date, no, that's not cool. But if you're with someone and they know you and they know what you like and don't like and can and cannot eat, then yeah, go for it. I think it's kind of sweet to like, I want to surprise you. I want to like, and it's like for a guy, I feel like that would be like, let me prove to you that I pay attention, that I am invested in the things that you say. Let me show you that I'm caring and that I want to do I want to pick the right things for you. Because like, what if he goes to the grocery store and gets some pre-cooked meals of like as a surprise? That hopefully that means he's paying attention to what you like and don't like, and like Johnny knows I love fish, so it's like it's that kind of thing. Like, let me show you what you mean to me because I've been paying attention to what you've been saying. Does that make sense?
It makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really good. That's awesome. I know a lot of women who are like, well, that's obviously rude, because in film, especially, it always comes off as like the control jerky alpha guy who wants a woman to be who should be seen and not heard, right? Like that's how it's always played off in the movies. Well, there are 2 instances on a first date that I know for a fact that most women would find it endearing and even a show of like, again, those stoic good guy masculine traits. And they are as follows. 1, if the menu is in a foreign language that you don't speak, but he does.
Yeah.
And he's like, as long as you don't have any shellfish, again, checks with you. As long as you don't have any shellfish allergies, since you're not really sure how to read the menu, are you okay with me going ahead and ordering for you since I can? Right? So it's checking in with you, but also it shows what he's doing there is he is showing his ability to be a partner. He's showing his ability to listen. And he's also giving a very subtle and yet powerful nod to the fact that he has this bilingual ability, whether it's French, Spanish, Italian, whatever it may be, Russian, Czechoslovakian, just depending on the restaurant, right?
Yep.
Spanish, like I'm trying to go through, because in New York City, you can go into restaurants and they will hand you a menu and it's not in English. And it could be in Korean, and then you go 2 doors down and you're in a restaurant where their menu is in French. You know what I mean? So those are subtle things he can do that it's still appropriate. It's not an aggressive power play, and it's a subtle flex for him, essentially, as far as being able to speak and read another language.
Yeah.
The second instance, you both actually brought it up, is where he was like, if he asks you, what do you think of Thai food or something like that? Like, hey, we're going to this restaurant. It's one of my favorites. And if you're like, oh, I've never really had Thai food. Right. And then he's like, well, since you haven't had Thai food, would you mind? I come here all the time. Would you mind if I order for us? Because Thai food tends to be very family style on the table. Like even in nicer scaled restaurants, they bring you a portion that's meant to be shared. So he can order a little bit.
Tapas, isn't it?
Yeah. So those are sort of the 2 instances where it's like, I've been to this restaurant before. I know what's good here. And since you're kind of unfamiliar with this cuisine, I can get you some stuff that I found has been pretty good, and we can see what you think. And then, of course, be honest with your feedback. Like, if you genuinely don't care for the food, like, find a polite way to say,
No,
like, be like, oh,
no,
you
you
know,
say
it's probably,
hiya, failure.
yeah. Or, and then in the other instance where he's ordering in the other language, what that turns into, rather than looking at it as a mansplaining, you can learn more about him. It's such a good conversation starter. Where'd you learn the language? How do you know it? Can you teach me a couple of words so I know what to look at on the menu? Right? So, yeah, so it becomes a moment where you guys can actually start to bond, and you can start taking an interest. So he's learned something about you, you've learned something about him, and he can maybe excite you about something that he has a skill in, and he can sort of maybe inspire you to learn that foreign language or be interested in it with him, and he can help you get jump started on it, because it's always easier to learn something if you have a mentor in it. And if that happens to be your romantic partner, it tends to flourish even better.
Yeah,
I can attest to that. My husband speaks his first language is Spanish, so it's like,
there you go.
Yeah, it
That's
was
awesome.
it was very interesting getting to know him, because he didn't really speak that much English at first.
There you go.
My brother was so concerned. He's like, "Isn't there going to be like a language barrier?" Like, bro, we have Google Translate, and I know a little bit of Spanish too. Working at fast food, I worked with a lot of Spanish ladies. Okay, and I definitely a lot of it self-taught, and a lot of it was with him. So it's like,
there you go.
Yeah.
So that was, thank you for answering that question. That was just, I was a curious one of mine. So
that's interesting. Ooh, you know what? That gives me an idea. Maybe it'd be fun to maybe do a stream, one of these in between space streams, that we all just come to the table with a couple questions and just see where it goes. That's interesting, because like I was like, oh, my mind like started firing on all pistons. Like, oh, what would I do? Because also like, not only that, Lady G, that's a moment also, like even with the language barrier thing, that's a moment for him to show you that he can take care of you.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, that actually, I don't know, that actually sounds kind of romantic now.
Yeah, but again, it also, like, you ladies hit it on the head. It depends on his intent, because just like ordering, like if he is considerate, because if you listen to Wedding Vow, because the idea that you shouldn't date for marriage never made any sense to me, because then what is the point of dating? Like, you're literally looking for your soulmate or your partner in life, however you want to view it. But the thing too is, he's proven that is, you have to act like a wife before you become one, because you have to prove that you are able to be one. Likewise, he has to act like a husband before he becomes one, because he has to prove he's capable of being one. And so, like you ladies said, if he sits to, if it's just very much, she will have, if it will go to, it seems to be it used to be a favorite trope anyway of chick flicks. Now it's a favorite trope of like feminist man bashing films, where it's they sit down and he's like, I'll have the steak, or I'll have the prime rib medium rare, and she'll have the Greek salad, right? Because it's supposed to be him saying, like, him body shaming her and telling like, you need to watch your weight and you don't need the protein. First of all, if you have ever dated, oh God, I'm going to sidetrack for just a second. If anyone has ever been friends with or dated anybody in the fitness community, they're never going to order you a Greek salad. You are always going to get a steak or some kind of protein. Like, they'll be like, hey, can I order for you? Yeah, cool. She's going to have like the New York strip medium rare. Like, they will shove protein down your throat. Anyway, moving on. That's why I always have to giggle when it's like these feminist hate films that, for whatever reason, it's like this.
You can't expect them to know what they're talking about.
I know, but it's like this buff gym nerd, like nutrition guy, and he's like, she'll have the Greek salad, and I'm like, no, see, you lost me, because he would not. His lifestyle, no, he wouldn't do that. He would be shoving protein down her throat right now. Yeah. Like, there would be steak, there would be lamb, there would be something, like some kind of red meat. Okay? And I'm fine with that. I love steak. I love red meat.
Give me a good old steak. I'm good.
I cried, Lage, when you were like, I haven't had red meat in so many years. I'm like, listen, that's just wrong.
I might have had an internal whimper.
Right?
I know. Yeah, no, and so did poor Johnny. But like, I went to this place called Grassburger. Yeah, Grassburger. It's a very small chain, but they, again, I can't, they claim, and the thing is, they claim, and I had a burger from there, and I didn't get horribly sick. Whereas even if I go to a local butcher, Keller's, which it's all local meat, still, my mom made a burger, and I got horrifically ill, and that was like, I had everything normal up to that point in the day, and so she told me that Keller's does have the no GMOs, no antibiotics, and all grass-fed. It costs an arm and a leg, but to have it every now and then is a little treat. I think I'm gonna go ahead and invest in that. But yeah, trust me, I miss red meat. It's been hell having my whole family have burgers and I have chicken. It's awful. And I don't like it.
Pork is a pretty good substitute too.
See, that chicken makes me sick too. It makes me.
Oh crap! No, life's not worth living at that point. Like, I don't understand. Like, I don't understand vegans at all. Like, vegans confuse and make me sad. I'm like, no wonder you're miserable. Like, just go eat a medium rare or medium steak with homemade creamy mashed potatoes, like some kind of green, whether it's collard greens or broccoli or asparagus, like some kind of green, like some kind of veggie on the side, and just like enjoy life. Like, what are you doing? I don't understand. Why do you hate yourself so much that you're gonna, like, you can't even have eggs? Like, I love breakfast omelets. Ham, cheese, green peppers, mushrooms, red peppers, folded up. Like, give me two.
Yeah, steak and eggs even. I love steak and eggs.
Oh God, I love steak and eggs. Yeah, vegans confuse me. I can't. There's some people that they're also real. All the vegans I've met are super aggressive. They're like, you have to be vegan too because I am, and I'm like, no.
Yeah, I had someone trying to debate with me about, like, well, what's the point of eating meat? What about the animals? What about this? I'm like, bro, man, eat what you do. I'm gonna have my steak, I have my chicken, and my turkey, my fish. I'm good.
Ooh, have you ever had elk? Lage, that might actually be a good one for you.
Okay.
Bison meat and elk meat. Yes. They might be, because bison is very different from, like, can't say super different. I mean, they are in the same family, but bison is a different beast than cow. Like herd cattle. Elk is really good. Very expensive.
Sausage.
Yes. Deer is really good. If you've ever had moose, that's also fantastic. It's really rich. So
yeah. No, everyone's asking me if I've had deer, and I have not. But maybe that'll end because I'm seeing a certain boy up in South Dakota. So we'll see.
Yeah, deer.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Does he bow? Like, okay, this is Johnny. Johnny, are you in the chat?
No, he's at premium.
God dang, that's right. Okay, well, you need to ask him if does he bow hunt? Does he blunderbuss? Does he rifle? Does he? Because there's different hunting seasons. So what does he hunt with?
I don't know if he hunts. I will have to ask him.
Well, if he doesn't hunt, we can fix that. It's fine.
Okay. All right. Well, okay. On the note of food, I'm actually so hungry I can't see straight. I'm like, I stupidly did not eat before the stream, so I'm going to bid everyone good night because my mom's also telling me she's hungry, so she's like, go get food. It's like, all right, I'm gonna go get some food. So I'm going to end it here. Hopefully I can have these two lovely ladies on again, have an awesome conversation. Would love to have them on again for the In Between Space stream. Thank you guys all for showing up and supporting me again. It literally does blow my mind every single week that you guys show up and support me. So I hope you all have a lovely night. Ladies, is there anything, I know we talked about this, but I am totally cool with it. Is there anything either of you would like to shout out before we bid goodnight?
You should go check out Radi on Twitch.
Yes,
you should go check out Alasia on Instagram because she is probably going to single-handedly save Bookstagram from
Thank you.
from YA and NA, and she also knits really cool stuff.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I'm getting ready to open up my Etsy shop again, so we'll see.
Yeah, she's got some cool stuff over there. So that's another way to support her and also just have really nice, awesome content on your feed. And Radi makes Twitch worth watching. So
I appreciate that. I really
absolutely
do. Y'all go check out Lady G. Do it.
Yeah, I'll blind you with my horrible humor.
Oh my goodness.
I have
no,
dad
but
jokes
You better
for
stop
days.
it. You better stop it.
No, her Nirvana streams are awesome. So yeah, just
Aw.
Very insightful, Lady G. It's
Yeah.
nice tuning in whenever I can. It really is.
Appreciate it. You ladies
Yeah.
are awesome.
All right, ladies. Well, thank you again so much. I appreciate your time. And I really do appreciate you agreeing to come on. I've had a lovely conversation, and again, hopefully we can do it again in the future. So, chat. Good night. Thank you
Good night,
all
y'all.
so very much for all your
Good night,
guys'
everyone.
support. And I will see you guys. I will be on next Monday, probably with a pop culture stream, but we will see. It's honestly, it's as much a surprise to you guys as it is to me, because I'm like, what am I doing this week? So we'll figure it out. So until next time, I hope you guys have a lovely evening. Goodbye.
Bye. Take care, y'all.
Later.